Hi everyone, this is Holly, and welcome to my fall series. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, I'd love it if you click that button. DIY number 1. For this craft, you're going to need a large coffee can and some white paint. I'm using white primer by Kilz, K-I-L-Z, because I really wanted my white paint to stick on the metal and not come off, and I wasn't planning on distressing it too much, so that's what I went with. But you could probably get away with using chalk paint as well, because I do end up sealing it at the end with Mod Podge. So I'm going to give it just one coat of white paint, and then you're also going to need some cardboard. I'm using the lid to trace out I do a total of 4 circles altogether, and that's because I'm making a lid for this and I want it to look pretty thick. I'm making a faux wood, lid. I know you can get the little Walmart wooden disc, but I think those are a little too thin. When you see them at the stores, at least what I'm making, when you see them at the stores, the lids are usually pretty thick. They're close to a ½ an inch thick in height, and I think that's part of the charm. So even if I had gotten the wooden circle, I probably would have ended up gluing about 3 or 4 pieces of cardboard on the bottom of that anyway, and then put the spackling around the edge and still made it a thicker lid, just because I think that looks really cute when it's on the kitchen counter. So all you do then is you just glue your 4 pieces of cardboard together. And this is another craft, by the way, to get rid of your Amazon boxes. For those of you that asked me to do some more crafts with cardboard, this is a great way to do it right here. You're just going to glue those 4 pieces together, and as you saw, it doesn't really matter if one of them is in a broken shape. Just make sure that if you do have one that's in a broken shape, where you didn't have a complete circle, or maybe it bent there and then it came apart, that you glue it in the middle between 2 solid circles, because you want, it helps keep the structural integrity together a little bit better if the outer ones are a solid piece of cardboard. I'm just going to cover it with joint compound. For those of you that watch my channel, you've seen me do this with a little tiny cutting board. You've seen me do it. I've got a whole separate video out there on how to make a faux wood farmhouse plank for a farmhouse sign. It's the same principle. It's a great way, you guys, when you don't have wood, or you don't have access to wood, or you have too much cardboard and you want to get rid of your cardboard. It's a great way to get a really beautiful faux wood piece in any shape you want. And another thing I really like when you do this technique is by the time you glue all of your pieces of cardboard together and you put your joint compound or your spackling on the top and the bottom and the sides, you end up with a really nice weight. It's not too light. It doesn't just blow away when someone walks by it. It lays flush down on a flat surface so it can work as a lid. You end up with something that feels good quality and looks good quality. So it's a great fake. And I'll tell you, I have been doing this for over 20 years with all kinds of things, and it is a great way to make it by faking it. I'll tell you, and it costs pennies. So I blow dry it this time, and it dries good enough for you to flip it over, do the other side, and finish the sides. And you're going to see me here untape it a minute off of that tile. It's just on wax paper, and I will put it on another surface so that it can dry while I finish the rest of the craft. And here's my printable. It's a free printable down below. You just click that link and it will take you to the printable. You can print it on up. And I'm just measuring now for the shape of the coffee can so that, it'll fit. Just checking for size there, and that's a good idea before you commit with glue, because I have made mistakes in the past where I've gone to put it on and I found out it was too big, or it was crooked, or it wasn't the right size. So lay it down, stand up, take a look, make sure you like the way it looks before you commit. And I use just regular old school glue. I've seen some crafters use spray adhesive. You can use whatever you want to stick it down. I'm working in a room without a lot of ventilation. I don't have the windows open, so I kind of avoid things that I breathe in, anything airborne like sprays. But I know spray adhesive works really well, as well as school glue. But honestly, you guys, I don't know, maybe I should have told you this many videos ago, but when you're gluing things down, it doesn't really matter what you glue it down with. as long as you seal it with the Mod Podge, because the Mod Podge is going to hold it down anyway. So if you want to save some money, or if you find another adhesive works better, go ahead and use that. It's just fine. So here I'm taking my favorite water-based acrylic stain. It's odorless. I really like this stuff a lot. It's kind of taking the place of the Waverly antique wax or any brand antique wax to make faux wood, and especially on joint compound or spackling or smooth surface like that. It's doing just a stand-up brilliant job of creating faux wood grain. Really beautiful. You can see it here. And now I'm just taking some super glue gel and I'm gluing down a wine cork, which I purposely cut at a little bit of an angle and stained as well to match. And here it is, you guys, the final result, and it came out absolutely so cute. I'm showing you up close how the faux wood looks. It's got grain, it's got texture, it's got dimension. I think it looks better than the real wood in some cases, you guys. If you're going for the rustic look, this is it. And I hope you guys get to try this craft. It was a lot of fun. DIY number 2. For this next DIY, you're going to need some scrap material and some paper. If you have cardstock, that's even better. I have an inkjet printer, and I'm going to put this material through. Now you can see how I'm taping it there. I actually recommend that you tape it, you keep the material smaller than the paper. Use cardstock if you have it. I didn't. I just used regular paper, and try to keep the tape as flat and thin as possible. There's my printer right there. My kids bought me that last Christmas, and it works really great for cloth. You're supposed to be able to put cloth through. I'd never tried it, but look what I did. Yep, I got so excited. I did Christmas and fall so that I would have a two-sided pillow so that I could just flip it over. Now, I'm aiming here just to make little small mini pillows to fill up the DIY number 4 that's coming up. I just want to be able to fill things inside baskets or crates and not have them take up a lot of space, but you could certainly make a bigger version of this if you wanted to. Originally, I glued this with hot glue and I turned it inside out, and I did not like the way the edges looked with the hot glue. So since I'm going for a rustic look, I decided to go ahead and, I pulled it apart, cut it a little bit smaller, and I decided it would look cute gluing it on the inside and leaving that jagged kind of fraying seam on the outside edge. And it did. All these pillows ended up looking so cute and farmhouse rustic. And don't forget to look for me on Instagram and Pinterest. For those of you that are new to my channel, I've got a really neat thing going on Pinterest. If you watch my videos and I inspire you to create and craft and you send me a photo, I will share it up on my Pinterest. I've got a separate board set aside just for that, and I'm happy to say that every day I get notifications that pins from that board are being shared to different boards. So it's working. The rest of the world is appreciating you, and it's a great way for us to keep in touch with each other and to see what each other are doing. So thank you to everyone who has participated. We've got a beautiful board going. And I'm just rounding out my corners a little bit. So these prints, I actually paid for 4 of them, and I think the other one was a free printout. And honestly, I found them on Pinterest, and I can't remember. I want to say for sure 2 of them came from Etsy, but I could be wrong. But I was clicking on one link and then I went to another link. You know how it goes. But if you guys Google free farmhouse fall printables, they are on so many blogs. You do get hit with a lot of ads, but that's how they make their money. But go ahead and do it that way because there's so many cute ones you can choose from. And here these little cuties are, you guys. They came up perfect. I even love the way the ink stained the surrounding material here and there because it looks antique and rustic. I love these guys. And if you don't have an inkjet printer, paint it on, stencil it on, draw it on. Little mini pillows are a great way to decorate during the holiday season, and they're so much fun to make. And now to announce the winners for the Farmers Market calendar. I thought I had 5 calendars, you guys. My bad. She wrote to me and told me she got 5 calendars. She was so excited, but duh, Holly, she kept one for herself. So when I finally opened the envelope, there were 4 calendars there. Either way, it's fantastic. And don't forget, I have some more calendars coming, so I will announce more winners, and there will be another opportunity if you didn't win this time, so don't give up. And now to announce this week's winners. Congratulations to Lynn Lewis, Jennifer Williams, Regina Sullivan, and Christine Gibbs. Please contact me within the next 7 days and send me your address so that I can get these calendars out to you, and happy crafting. DIY number 3. For this craft, you're going to need 4 maple leaves from the Dollar Tree. Now you can get them anywhere. If you want, you can find maple leaves online, hold a piece of paper up to your computer screen, trace it out, and then create them the exact same way I made the lid with the coffee can. That would work fine, but you need some leaves. And I'm just using an old sign that I bought at the 99-cent only store, so it was still $1. And I'm covering it with the white primer paint again because the canvas was a little bit shiny, so I want to make sure the paint sticks. And I'm using burnt umber with a little drop of black paint. They're both by Apple Barrel. Watering it down with a little bit of water, and this is how I'm going to go about creating faux wood grain for this craft. And just in case you didn't notice, I did paint those maple leaves white, and now I'm taking some burnt umber paint by Apple Barrel, no black in it, just burnt umber this time, and I'm going to go around and edge all of the leaves to make them a little bit more rustic and a little bit more, I don't know, to me this looks more woodsy, like a forest, and it adds a lot of dimension, and it makes the maple leaf kind of pop a little bit, and I think that's going to be really, look at that, it is really, really pretty. So there's what you have when you're finished. And now I'm taking some of the Dollar Tree wooden letters, and I'm going to use them like a stencil and trace out the word fall first with pencil and then with a Sharpie in black. And I decide after a lot of thought that I want these leaves to look like they're falling, and I want them to capture the energy of fall, the beauty of fall, the thing that we all get excited about and love about fall. It's the colors, and the colors are usually brown, purples, yellows, oranges, warm gold tones. That's what we see when we look up at those trees changing on the hillside. So I start with that color from the Dollar Tree by Crayola, which I talked about in my previous videos. It's so see-through and transparent, it makes a wonderful stain, and it just leaves behind a really warm cinnamon-like color, as you can see on that one leaf. And then I take a mustard color, it's called gold something, but you can use any kind of warm yellow that you want. And I have a deep wine burgundy color, but it kind of comes out a little too pink. And don't worry about it, because we're going to be adding some warmth on top of these leaves. We're not done yet. This is just the base color. And now I'm doing orange for the letter F. So now I decide to take the rest of that watered down burnt umber that's mixed with black and paint it on top of all of these colors to darken them up and make them look a little weathered and rustic. And really, what my goal is here is to try to make them look more like a real leaf that you would see on the ground. It kind of has all those different like dirty brown spots in and stuff, and I know you guys know what I'm talking about. If you look at a leaf up close, that's what we're aiming for here. And it should look close to that when you're done. Then you lay them on the canvas at the angles that you like, and I'm using a little bit of hot glue to hold them down. And I love raffia, you guys. Now you can use the hula skirt if you have it, but for this particular craft I wanted to use the real raffia because it's a little bit thinner and it looks more like straw. And I just have a thing with raffia when it comes to fall. When I look at that, I don't think Christmas or Easter or summer. I always look at that and think, ooh, 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 that's that is autumn right there. It is the haystacks, it's the pumpkin vines that are all dried out when you're allowed to go and walk in the pumpkin patch and pick your pumpkin. It's just everything that's fall to me. So sometimes I can go a little crazy with the raffia, but I think on this particular craft that a little tiny bow on the top of each one of those maple leaves will be so, so cute and so farmhouse sweet. So I go ahead and put a bow on to cover the little tiny hole up at the top, and then I hold it up and I decide I'm going to put a little spray of raffia on the top as well. And there we go. And it came out super cute, you guys. I mean, it's just your stereotyped typical beautiful fall craft with the fall colors, with the feeling of fall from the raffia and the wood grain in the back. It came out super, super cute, and I hope you guys get to try this craft as well. DIY number 4. For this craft, you're going to need the burner cover set from the Dollar Tree, some sisal rope, or you can use the nautical rope from the Dollar Tree, some masking tape or duct tape, some shims or some painter sticks, and you're going to start by covering the top of the stove top cover with masking tape or duct tape or any kind of sticky tape. Just make sure it's sticky tape that sticks. And for those of you that watched my video where I made a farmhouse stool, this is when I got this idea, you guys. I was making the stool and I put the 4 legs on the stool. When I turned it upside down, I thought, gee, Holly, all you gotta do is just glue those little legs all the way around and you would end up with a super cute farmhouse bucket or an apple basket, or not an apple basket, sorry, an apple barrel. So there you have it. And I was waiting to do this craft for fall. So afterwards, I decide that I want my bottom not to look like tape. So I start with Territorial Beige by Apple Barrel. They're all Apple Barrel paints. Then I use khaki, and then I use a little antique parchment there just to kind of soften it up and make it look more woodsy, so that when you know, most of the time this bucket will have something in it, so it's not critical, but still I just wanted it to kind of blend in and look a little bit like it matched. I'm cutting these down to 9.5 inches, and I used 32 altogether. When you purchase them in a package from Home Depot, they're $4.98 and you get 42. And after you've covered it, painted it, you're happy with the way it looks, you're going to start by gluing your sisal rope, or put, whatever kind of cord that you want to use, but I'm using the sisal rope. You're going to start by gluing it on the bottom, and then you're going to do another row up for the second row, and then you're going to glue a third row up, and you're going to do a total of 4 rows altogether, because what that does is it helps the shims, the wood shims, when you're hot gluing them, have more to stick to besides just that thin little bottom. The thin little bottom, I was trying it with just a thin bottom. It was proving to be a little problematic because there just wasn't enough, brace there. It kind of kept leaning back and wanting to fall back too far. So you do need to go up a little bit, and it adds a lot of charm when it's all done anyway, you guys. So if you decide to use shims, you're going to be gluing the thinner side of the shim downwards where the hot glue is. So the thicker side of the shim is up, and you're going to be gluing whatever you use in the shape of a cross like that in 4. And then in between each one of those 4, you're going to be gluing 3. So you can see me doing it here, and I'm going to show you in a minute the formation. Right there. Where the arrows are, those are what you glue down first, and then you're going to be doing 3 in between each one of those. So at this stage, right here, I'm gluing my last shim in. You should have 16 sticks now, all together. And make sure you're generous with the hot glue, you guys. I think I went through like 10 glue sticks here, and it's fine. It worked great, but you really got to hold it down. Now I'm using the Dollar Tree thin twine just for this part. Literally just to tie it, to squeeze it together to get it to the size that I want. And then I'm going to be gluing the sisal rope over that. Don't worry, you guys can cut that small twine down even though it's hot glued, and it pulls right out. And if it doesn't, no one's going to see it anyway. Mine did. I cut it and it came right out. And once you get to that stage where you've got the middle sisal rope on, you're going to start putting your other 16 cuts of shims or painter sticks in between each one of those. So I'm going to show you here. I'm putting the hot glue up the edges, and then I'm going to take another shim and I'm going to glue that down. Now if you want a super permanent hardcore hold, use super glue gel or wood glue. I just was doing hot glue because I knew once I got the rope on it would be strong enough, and it is. But to be honest, I did have some trouble when I was turning the bucket with some of them coming apart, which if I had been more patient and I wasn't filming, I wouldn't have had that. So I'm filming, so I am limited, and I'm probably going to go back and squirt some super glue here and there just to make sure that it stays together. But there you have it. So here you're putting your last row of sisal rope on, and notice when I glued the first part, I only went halfway across that stick there because you're going to need the other half of the stick to glue the finished end on, so don't forget about that part. You don't want to cover that stick all the way. And I'm just going to go around the bucket now and glue. And last but not least, you're going to put a final row of sisal rope or cord, nautical rope, whatever you want, and you're doing this for the sole purpose of hiding the glue, because I did have to be very generous with the hot glue. There was glue showing at the base there where it met, and I didn't like that, and I didn't like the glue in between the rope either. So now I'm taking some burnt umber with a little bit of black paint, and I'm just covering the glue here and there, and it makes the bucket just look old and dirty and rustic, and you know, it ends up working great. So don't worry about it if you have glue showing it here and there. Just touch it here and there with a little bit of that burnt umber, and bingo, you've got a beautiful rustic bucket. And look at this, you guys. This is my favorite DIY this time. I mean, I walked downstairs with this and my husband said, wow, this is gorgeous in real life, and it is a statement piece. If you have an entryway table or a farmhouse table or anything like that, this is perfect to put on the bottom shelf or the top shelf even, and fill it with pumpkins. My pillows and pumpkins are going to go in here. It's absolutely beautiful. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's DIYs. If you did, don't forget to give me a big thumbs up. It really does help YouTube notice my channel. And until the next video, breathe deep, fret not, and do things that make you happy.